For 17 years, Steve Harvey publicly called Marjorie the woman who saved his existence. He welcomed her children as his own, shielded her from public criticism, and constructed a media empire closely tied to her name. Then, at 68 years old, after all they had weathered together, something inside that marriage changed in an irreversible way. The man who had spoken about loyalty more forcefully than almost anyone in show business suddenly started walking away. Yet what set off this transformation is not at all what people imagine. In early August 2023, an unsigned message moved quickly from Twitter to YouTube and Facebook, soon accepted as verified news. The rumor claimed Steve Harvey had discovered his wife Marjorie was unfaithful with two male employees from their household, his bodyguard and his personal chef. Both individuals had been given access to his most intimate life for many years. The bodyguard, William Freeman, known publicly as Big Boom, was central to the story. A detail most people missed made the gossip especially cruel. Big Boom was not simply a hired protector. He was the person who brought Steve and Marjorie back together in 2005 after they had spent years apart. He was essentially the cause of their marriage. The painful irony was sharp, and online audiences absorbed every piece of it. Harvey was in Atlanta for Invest Fest when the situation became unbearable. He stepped onto the stage, set aside his planned remarks, looked at the audience, and spoke in a calm tone that carried underlying tension. He mentioned he was fine and Marjorie was fine, dismissing the rumors and joking that he wished he could curse. The crowd laughed and clapped. Marjorie shared a Bible verse on Instagram with a caption saying they did not usually engage with foolish lies, then stayed off social media for 3 full months. Later, Nigerian Senator Ned Nwoko confirmed he had spoken directly to Harvey, and the entire story was false. Even so, the rumors continued appearing on podcasts and in comment sections for many months. No one discussed the real pattern beneath this episode. Steve Harvey had spent his whole career shaping an image as a devoted family man. He sold millions of relationship books and presented his marriage as evidence that a broken man could be fully repaired. That reputation made him an ideal target. When someone stands on a stage telling millions they have the answers, the world patiently waits for a chance to prove them wrong. At the Griot Awards in November 2023, Harvey accepted a prize, and his voice audibly broke while speaking about Marjorie. He said she had stayed with him through extreme hardship, and that most of what people knew about him happened after he married her. There was no acting. The emotion was genuine. The couple marked their 18th wedding anniversary in June 2025 with photos from Lake Como, Italy. Still, to grasp why the cheating scandal caused such damage, and why the public eagerly believed every word without evidence, one must understand that before anyone knew Marjorie Harvey, Steve had already left behind failed marriages, hostile courtrooms, and a $60 million lawsuit that nearly destroyed everything he had built. The woman behind that lawsuit was ready to go to jail rather than stay silent. Steve Harvey has been married 3 times. This is not a minor detail in his life. It forms the emotional core of what he has built and what he has been accused of. Each marriage shows a different side of him, and together they explain why a single deleted online post could shake his public identity to its foundation. His first wife was Marcia Harvey. They wed in 1981 when Steve sold insurance and had never performed stand-up comedy. They had twin daughters in 1982 and a son in 1991. The marriage fell apart as his career started growing. Comedy demanded nights, weekends, and emotional energy a young family needed to survive. Marcia raised all 3 children alone after their 1994 divorce. Harvey fell so behind on child support that a judge ordered him to pay over $36,000 in overdue amounts. Marcia never gave any interviews. She wrote 3 self-published books, remarried, and moved on quietly. Still, the shadow of that first abandoned family never left his public record. His second marriage was to Mary Lee Shackelford. They married in 1996 after meeting in Texas in 1989. They had a son, Winton, in 1997. Harvey later admitted he entered that marriage for the wrong reasons, telling People magazine he was tired of being alone and took responsibility. The divorce was finalized in November 2005. Court records showed Mary received $40,000 monthly until 2009, a lump sum of $1.5 million, and 3 properties. Harvey got primary custody of Winton. What came next lasted over a decade and involved jail time, a $60 million lawsuit, and one of the most bitter post-divorce fights in entertainment history. In January 2011, Mary posted YouTube videos with over 200,000 views. She claimed Harvey had cheated with Marjorie throughout their marriage, and that she had found love letters between them on her own anniversary. She also described years of bullying from Harvey and his team. Harvey's lawyers pointed to court filings that contradicted her claims. She was neither homeless nor destitute. She had received nearly $2 million in cash, 3 homes, and years of monthly support. A judge found her in contempt for violating a gag order and gave her 30 days in jail in December 2013. From behind bars, she told a Dallas TV station she had missed 6 years of her son's life. In May 2017, she filed a $60 million lawsuit in Los Angeles describing something she called a soul killer, involving torture, deprivation, and brainwashing. Harvey's attorney said it was meritless. The case was dismissed in February 2018 because the divorce happened in Texas. She never tried again. Marjorie Bridges has a story most people have not fully heard. Her first husband, Jim Townsend, was a Memphis drug leader sentenced to life in federal prison. Federal authorities investigated Marjorie but never charged her. On October 8, 1985, Steve Harvey entered Hilarity's comedy club in Cleveland for an amateur open mic night. He won the contest and left with $50. He cried during the entire drive back, not because the amount mattered, but because he felt something new born inside him. He described that feeling as being born that night and deciding to do comedy for the rest of his life. He quit his insurance job the next morning with a wife and infant twins depending on him. What came next was 3 years Harvey calls the hardest of his life. After his first marriage ended and comedy work was scarce and low-paying, he had nowhere to live. He stayed in a 1976 Ford Tempo with an igloo cooler holding ice, bologna, and cheese in the backseat. He hung suits in the rear window to keep them pressed for shows. He washed at gas station bathrooms, hotel lobbies, and public pools. He earned as little as $50 weekly and gave 75% of it to his separated family. He stole fuel from gas stations to reach comedy gigs. In a People interview, he said a week was the maximum most people could endure, but this lasted 3 years. He called it rock bottom, but said his faith never faded. He also recalled a voice telling him to keep going and promising to take him to new places. In another interview, he admitted he has been running from poverty ever since because he lived in it so long. That fear never went away. It became the engine beneath every business choice he ever made. His career gained real shape when he became a finalist in the Johnny Walker National Comedy Search in April 1990, alongside a young Judd Apatow and a stand-up named Ray Romano. That led to Showtime at the Apollo, where he became permanent host in 1993 for 7 years. The Steve Harvey Show on the WB launched in 1996, ran for 6 seasons and 122 episodes, and won over a dozen NAACP Image Awards. The original Kings of Comedy tour started in December 1997 with Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, Bernie Mac, and D.L. Hughley. It earned $37 million in 2 years, becoming the highest-grossing comedy tour in American history at that time. Harvey performed stand-up for the last time on August 2, 2012, at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas after Marjorie told him God was preparing something he could not yet see. He trusted her and left the stage that had saved his life. He never returned. That decision may have been his smartest move, because the world he left behind would soon turn on him in ways television ratings could not prevent. On January 3, 2024, Cat Williams sat with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, and over 33 million people watched. During that talk, Williams aimed directly at Steve Harvey, accusing him of building much of his career on material that was not his. Mark Curry had been making that argument publicly since December 2019. Curry starred in ABC's Hanjin with Mr. Cooper from 1992 to 1997, playing a black comedian in Suits working as a vice principal in a school. Harvey's WB sitcom launched in 1996, starring a black comedian in Suits working as a vice principal in a school. Curry saw no coincidence. The specific joke in question was a Halloween routine Curry performed on his 1999 Comedy Central special about being so poor as a child that he wore a cardboard UPS box as a costume. In 2015, a nearly identical segment appeared on Harvey's daytime talk show. TMZ posted both recordings side by side. The similarities were very hard to dismiss. Angela Means, who played Felicia in the film Friday, confirmed in June 2024 that the pattern was real. She said bluntly that Harvey steals jokes. She called Curry one of the most talented improvisers in black stand-up, with ideas arriving so fast that other comedians borrowed from him almost automatically. She urged Curry to move on, but did not deny anything he said about Harvey. Another accusation involved Bernie Mac. Mac told GQ magazine in 2003 that Harvey or his representative approached the producers of Ocean's 11 in 2001, offering to play Mac's role for less money in order to take the part. Radio host Ed Lover confirmed in April 2024 that Mac personally told him the story and was genuinely hurt. Harvey has broadly denied everything without addressing the specific footage. He told TMZ in 2020 he had never stolen a joke in 35 years. At InvestFest in August 2024, he made remarks about lions and small dogs that drew immediate criticism. A month later on the Pivot podcast, he quietly admitted he probably should not have said anything and added they were not in the same league. Joke theft in stand-up has almost no legal protection because individual jokes get no meaningful copyright. Harvey's shift to television hosting put him beyond community enforcement. The accusations remain unresolved, and the footage stays online for anyone to see. Before deciding what to think about the comedian, one must understand the empire he became, because the distance between a 1976 Ford Tempo and $200 million is one of the most extraordinary journeys in American entertainment. Broderick Stephen Harvey was born on January 17, 1957, in Welch, West Virginia. His parents named him after television actor Broderick Crawford. Before the boy could form a full sentence, they had already pointed him toward screen. His father, Jesse, was a coal miner who later sold insurance. His mother, Eloise, was a Sunday school teacher. The family moved to Cleveland, Ohio, settling on East 112th Street, later renamed Steve Harvey Way in 2015. Young Steve had such a severe stutter that other children called him VA Virum because his words crashed and stalled. A man at the neighborhood deli taught him to repeat thoughts silently 3 times before speaking and to speak while exhaling. When Steve did it correctly, the man gave him candy. That deli counter became an unlikely schoolroom. Harvey later said much of his humor came from his stuttering. In 6th grade, a teacher asked every student to write what they wanted to be. Steve Harvey wrote that he wanted to be on television. The teacher read every paper aloud, saved his for last, called him to the front, and humiliated him in front of the entire class. She told a stuttering boy from a coal mining family that his dream was embarrassing. She called his parents. His mother was mortified. His father was not. Jesse Harvey came into his room that night and told him to keep the paper in his drawer, read it every morning and every night. Jesse died of black lung disease on April 7, 2000. Eloise died of a stroke in 1997. Neither lived to see what that paper eventually produced. Harvey says that weight still sits with him every day. After high school, Harvey attended Kent State University, studied advertising, and flunked out. He worked over 10 different jobs across nearly a decade. He boxed, cleaned carpets, delivered mail, and sold insurance. He was laid off from General Electric right before Thanksgiving, coming home with a turkey and no paycheck. None of it pointed anywhere useful yet. When success finally arrived, Harvey sent that 6th grade teacher a new television every Christmas for the rest of her life. He told her he wanted her to see him. She eventually said she ran out of space and started giving them to neighbors. Harvey told that story with a laugh that never quite covered what was underneath. He is on television 7 days a week, exactly as he said he would be. The paper did not lie. The father who protected the dream never led him wrong. The car that should have destroyed him was where faith was tested and found completely real. His legacy will never be simple. The man who tells boys to believe in themselves left his first family struggling while chasing his dream. The man who became America's relationship expert carried 2 failed marriages and a $60 million lawsuit into the home he now calls salvation. The man who stood on the world's largest pageant stage misread 1 card and turned the disaster into 6 more years of work. The man who tells millions to jump is still, by his own admission, running from something. He is not a saint or a fraud. He is something more interesting. A man who wrote it all down at 11 years old and refused to stop until every word on that paper came true. That is the complete story of Steve Harvey. What do you make of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments.